and welcome to The Ring, Euronews' debating show broadcasting from the European Parliament here in Brussels. Once a week, two elected members of the European Parliament go face-to-face on some of the most pressing issues of our time. This week we'll be asking if the European Union is still relevant in a world where rules and international law are no longer respected. Before we meet our guests, though, let's just take a look at what exactly is at stake.
As the rule-based international order weakens, the question is no longer whether power is exercised, but whether it is exercised legitimately. The loss of faith in diplomacy seems evident in the growing willingness of powerful states to ignore international law. From the US intervention in Venezuela and its interest in Greenland, Russia's invasion of Ukraine, to China's conflict with Taiwan. Europe, by contrast, appears divided and reactive, hesitant to challenge Washington and unclear about its own role. Will Europe defend the rules-based order or accept a world where power defines legality?
That is the question that we have for our contenders today. Let's meet them.
Henrik Dahl, a Danish MEP and a member of the European People's Party group. He's an expert on the EU's internal market, employment and legal affairs. Before entering EU politics, he was a long-time member of the Danish Parliament. He's also a published author of several books on sociology and politics. There has never been a rules-based international order. What is new is admitting it, he said regarding the US seizure of Venezuelan leader Nicolás Maduro. Lina Galvez, a Spanish MEP and a member of the Progressive Alliance of Socialists and Democrats group. She's an expert in feminist economics and gender equality, and chairs the Committee on Women's Rights and Gender Equality. She's also a member of the European Parliament's delegation for relations with the United States. Commenting on the latest events, she said, "Trump is dismantling the international multilateral system and the human rights framework. And the EU, will it continue to be soft? Shameful."
Henrik Dahl and Lina Galvez, welcome to The Ring. Great to have you with us. Now, the idea here is to give our viewers a taste of what it's really like inside the European hemicycle, so I hope you feel right at home. Lina, perhaps we'll start with you. Is the European Union still relevant on the world stage?
Still is, but unless we change certain things, it will not be, because the world is changing. It's changing too fast, probably. It was changing already before the latest happenings.
And that's the problem. The EU and the structures and the processes cannot keep up with that pace, Mr. Dahl.
We are going to have to fight for our relevance because the new currency is raw power, and we have economic power, but real, raw, old-fashioned power is something we are in short supply of, so we have to improve ourselves.
And is that message clear inside the European Parliament, or is it still business as usual, taking time to get things done?
I think we are still a bit on business as usual. Unfortunately, we need to move faster than we are moving right now. And we have to say also that there are some actors that are very much in favor of a very different European Union, but not in the sense of more Europe, but less Europe. And this is something we cannot afford it now.
Well, that's an interesting point you make, because, of course, there's threats externally, but there's also threats internally that question the whole idea of the European Union, Mr. Dahl.
There are many problems in the European Union because some of the major countries have internal problems, so there's very little decision-making power in some of the capitals, and we need decision-making power in the big capitals as well.
Yeah, but we also really need to empower the European Parliament because we are directly elected by citizens. So we have also a lot of things to do here, and I think if all the pro-European and pro-democratic forces manage to work closer together in a very real way and with coherence, that will improve very much the role of the European Parliament.
Because as it looks now, Mr. Dahl, the EU often appears very weak on the world stage. If you look, for example, at the statement that the EAS put out, the Foreign Affairs Chief, Kaja Kallas, it was 26 member states on the violent capture of Nicolás Maduro in Venezuela by the Trump administration. Why is the EU always so weak and always so divided?
Because we are an economic union, and most of the European countries rely on NATO for hard security. So there is a division of labor. But sometimes I think we are grabbing the wrong tools in the toolbox. I have come to realize that Vladimir Putin is not really afraid of resolutions, and he's not afraid of strongly worded letters, and we have to understand this.
And that is often the problem here. The Parliament has become a place of resolutions, of statements, of words, but in fact, more is needed, especially when it comes to this issue in Venezuela. What's your view there? We saw as well the European Commissioner, Teresa Ribera, rather critical of this soft, cautious stance of the EU on Venezuela.
I mean, I think we need to be coherent. And if we say we are for multilateralism and international law, we have to do it. And obviously, we don't like Venezuelan regimes. Was not a democratic regime. That is clear. Most of the European Parliament, even my own country, Spain, that was a bit more vocal, did not recognize the result of the elections. But it does not mean that we need to approve what has happened in Venezuela, because that was a breakdown of international law, and we have to be coherent and we have to be very clear about it.
And are we being coherent? That is the problem.
I don't think we are being very coherent, but I think we have to accept that we have a rules-based order on our own continent. But there is not a global rules-based order, because if you look at the 5 permanent members of the UN Security Council, 3 of them don't really care about the UN Charter, and they violate the UN Charter constantly. The new thing is that the United States used to rhetorically abide by the rules-based order, but when it came to the arrest of Maduro, Trump didn't even bother to talk about democracy. He just talked about oil and power. I
agree that we did not have an international order as such, and that it was broken before. The problem or the difference is that the US is still the biggest power and is able really to change the rules in a faster way and in a way other actors are not able to. So even if I agree in the sense that the international order was not working as we think it was working, or at least as theoretically should be working, it has been a change now, and we are seeing a change now.
We feel it's a deeper problem, because under normal circumstances, which are not normal, if somebody attacked Greenland, we would invoke Article 5 of NATO. But if the United States attack Greenland, they are supposed to guarantee Article 5. So you can't really invoke it if the attacking party is the party that's supposed to guarantee Article 5.
So Europe should jump in.
Why Europe should jump in? Well, one way perhaps that Europe or the EU could jump in here, an idea that some MEPs have been floating, is to freeze the EU-US trade deal as a way to put pressure on the administration of Donald Trump not to touch Greenland. Lina Galvez, would you be in favour of this?
Yeah, of course. I'm also in the International Trade Committee and in the US delegations. We are not very active in the recent months, I have to say. In the previous term, we were meeting almost every week. We were going. There were years I went even 5 times there to meet.
Communications are down,
and we are not doing that anymore. So that means something already. But of course, we have weapons, we have power we are not using, and we really need to think seriously about using it.
And just, Mr. Dahl, Greenland, a topic very close to your heart as a Danish politician. What would be your view? Is freezing those EU-US trade talks a good idea?
I think you need to take one step at a time on the escalation ladder, and I think stopping the deal would be more than one step. According to me, it would not be the natural first step.
But how can the Europeans negotiate with President Donald Trump and his administration on tricky issues like trade, like tech, like Greenland, etc.?
So the international order is now moving towards even not only the international order. I mean, the rules that Trump has seen that the international order is not working, so he's trying to change in his benefits. And his benefits is even not in capitalist terms. He's not looking for benefits, he's looking for rents. So he's really changing the whole rule of the game. So we cannot enter on that framework of rents, on that framework of coercion. We really need to see the power we have, that we have a lot of power. We are a great market, and we are powerful, and said we need to be united. That is important, and we really need to use whatever we can use.
A lot of people in this town were disappointed that we had to accept the 15% tariff, but I think it's sort of a kind of a sober reflection of the bargaining power. I think that's where the bargaining power is.
Of course, we are really embedded with the US. That's a reality. We are dependent on many things. I did a lot on cybersecurity in the previous term, so I know what I'm talking about. I can't tell you. We are really dependent, but we really need to rethink that this world order is not anymore working, and we really need to be smarter and united. I insist on that.
So we are a political power and not just economic?
Well, just to some extent, because we haven't discussed Ukraine, but one of the reasons we accept the 15% tariff is that we don't want the United States to pull out of Ukraine, because even though we are doing much more than we used to do, we are still dependent on the United States if we want to support Ukraine. So in order to keep the United States in when it comes to Ukraine, we have to accept certain things.
And just a final point perhaps on Iran, which is on all of our minds here. What role can the European Union play here to have a say in Iran's hopefully democratic future?
I hope so, but Iran is a very complicated country, an area, because it's not like in Venezuela that we knew already for the past elections that most of the population was against the Maduro regime. This is not the case in Iran. So the blood that we can see if we do not act in a very proper way, very clear for democracy, it could be very
I think we should classify the Revolutionary Guard as a terrorist organization.
And that's in fact what Roberta Metsola said, the President of the European Parliament, in an exclusive interview this week on Euronews that you can catch. But I'll stop you there because we want to dive deeper into the debate. So now it is time to give our viewers a real taste of the chamber where MEPs, you fire questions over and back to each other and you often do not know what exactly is coming. So that is what we plan to do right now. Lina Galvis, would you like to begin with your first question for Mr. Dahl?
Now that that President Trump said his side on Greenland, and you are Danish and you are from the EPP, is your political family, your political party here, the European Parliament, be more vocal criticizing the United States for certain decisions that affect international law? Just we have the case of Venezuela, but with the trade agreement, you were also, you know, not very critical with it. So it makes any change now with this threat on Greenland?
Yes, I think we will, because the thing we are going to criticize, as far as I know, the Conference of Presidents is still discussing this, is that the United States is not honoring the treaties they have made. So they are not honoring an old agreement from 1916 that was during the First World War, and they are not honoring the defense agreement from 1951. So we are going to criticize the United States more vocally.
And just to remind our viewers, when you refer to the Conference of Presidents, you're referring to the meeting of all the various presidents of the political groups here in the Parliament. Mr. Dahl, it's time for you to address your first question to Lina Galvis.
My question is, I think, on behalf of all the Nordic countries and all the Baltic countries, and it is about Spanish defense spending. When are you going to reach 3.5 or 5%? We think that would be a nice act of solidarity.
You know, I'm an academic. I'm an economics professor, so I study what you say before coming here, and you are very much with efficiency. So sometimes you could be efficient with lower expenditure, and Spain has double expenditure, and in a very efficient way, really meeting all the targets they will put to the country. So I think Spain has made a huge effort, both in terms of budget and efficiency. So I think we should really need to look to efficiency, because if we only look to the percentage, we will be entering in this Trump framework of rents. And I think this is not what we want, not for Spain, not for Europe.
Mr. Dahl, I'll let you catch your breath while you address your next question, please.
I would like an answer on behalf of your Prime Minister, because your Prime Minister said that nuclear weapons ought to be used against Israel. Are you in favor of using nuclear weapons against Israel?
To be honest, I haven't heard Pedro Sanchez to say that, and I really doubt he has said that at all. To be honest, I haven't.
Where did you hear him say that?
I'm not a pro-nuclear weapon person. He is not, as far as I know. I just went in October for a mission in Japan. I visited Hiroshima, that I have never visited in my life, and I don't think anyone who has really visited Hiroshima, what happened there, would be in any moment in favor of nuclear weapons.
He said it publicly at a political rally, but I will find the clip.
and we will share it as well with our viewers on social media.
To be honest.
Lena Galvez, you have the opportunity to address one more question now to Mr. Dahl.
Now I'd like to ask you on Venezuela and also regarding your political group, ECAM. You confirmed that your political groups rejects the recent military actions carried out unilaterally in Venezuela and defends that they contravene the fundamental principle of international law, even though Venezuela is not a democratic country. And I know members of your party, especially Spanish EPP, has been really very concentrated on Venezuela in a way to criticize the Spanish government without a real case for it. Since we have 500,000 Venezuelans in the country, we have been very vocal on helping to liberate prisoners, or even we have the lead of the opposition living in our country. So I would like to know more about it.
We have been very supportive of the democratic opposition. There was a vote in Parliament about whether or not to recognize the election. We had a lot of discussions about are we supposed to vote for and against. It's even called a Venezuela majority when we vote with the right wing. So we have been supportive of the democratic forces in Venezuela all along, and we are still supporters of the democratic Venezuela.
But what about what had happened with the U.S., with the Trump intervention in Venezuela?
It is, of course, a gray zone, and we recognize that we are in a gray zone here, but you have to consider the fact that Maduro was an illegitimate leader of the country.
Okay. We'll have to close that there, but thank you so much for addressing questions to each other. We heard the views there from the MEPs. I'd also like to bring in a new voice here. Now we'd like to bring in the voice of Viktor Orban, Prime Minister of Hungary, who's often known for going against the Brussels line. In a recent press conference, he praised Trump's operation in Venezuela and said Hungary will not leave the European Union, but the European Union will fall apart on its own. A kind of disintegration will take place and chaos will emerge in leadership. What do you make of this statement, Mr. Dahl?
I think Viktor Orban is a troll, and I think you have to understand him as sort of a real-life social media troll who says outrageous things in order to elicit crazy responses. So it's kind of the equivalent of rage bait in real life.
Well, he's also in campaign mode. It's worth pointing out as well to our viewers. Lena Galvez, if you're part of a club, should you not be promoting the club and defending it?
Of course, but I don't think it is a troll. I think it is part of an international far-right club, and for him, this is more important. And they have a plan, and the plan is to destroy the European Union, as it has also written down Trump now in his external strategy. So I think he's a Trojan horse within the European Union. So probably it is also time for us to act regarding.
But I think it's a question of psychology, because I think Viktor Orban is totally annoying, just like you think. But from a psychological point of view, I think sometimes you need to ignore annoying people because they become more annoying if you respond to what they say.
But what he says is so catchy. That's why we were playing this clip here on Euronews.
But
we need our leaders to say
catchier silent, things. You ignore it, it can happen what has happened other times in history. So I don't think this is the moment. The same is with Trump. I will be very humiliated if I will be from Greenland just saying, oh, who is that person that said Greenland should stay with Denmark? It was the Prime Minister. So this continuous humiliation, I'm a woman, I feel humiliated for him every time he opens his mouth. And so I don't think we should stay silent. We should be very vocal.
He will lose the next election, and then we are rid of him.
Well, we'll have to stay tuned to see what exactly happens in those elections taking place on the 12th of April. We'll cover them very carefully for you here on Euronews. But now it is time to take a short break. But stay with us, because we'll be back very, very soon with some more political punch from the European Parliament. Welcome back to The Ring, Euronews's weekly debating show. I'm joined here by MEPs Heinrich Dahl and Lena Galvez, and the idea here is to bring European Parliament debates exactly to your couch. But we also want to bring in how the public feel about all these topics. And actually, before the events of the past month, we saw Europeans were already increasingly wary of US power on the global stage. According to a survey of the European Council of Foreign Relations, about 49% of EU citizens no longer see the United States as a true ally, viewing it instead as a necessary partner. And according to the Groupe d'études géopolitiques, 70% of Europeans, so 7 in 10, say the European Union should rely on its own armed forces for security, and only 10% believe Europe can rely on the US for defence. So there seems to be a very strong demand out there for European strategic autonomy. I would like to get your views as well, especially for you, Lena Galvez, as a socialist, because I know this topic is very tricky when it comes to where the money should be focused.
Well, I think, yes, if we really need to move towards strategic autonomy, we really need to increase our security and defence capacities.
Your voters in Spain, do they support this?
Oh, well, in Spain, less than in other countries, but still it is a question of talking really that what is the reality, and that we really need to move more on defense and security, but also to make the changes that will make this strategic autonomy possible, because unless we move to more Europe in other policy areas like more fiscal union or even industrial policies, common industrial policies, we really cannot talk about strategic autonomy.
So what will Europeans have to give up to reach this goal?
I don't know. I think that's why you have politics, because sometimes things are possible in politics that you didn't think were possible. But let me say, I was a little bit puzzled when President Macron introduced strategic autonomy in 2017. But he was ahead of his time. It was very visionary what he said. And I'm very happy that 7 out of 10 people believe in this concept, because I think it's the right thing to do.
But because the US is quite frankly not there, we're seeing that on a daily basis. And that's why there's so much pressure as well on Spain to increase defence funding.
Exactly. But of course, we have to discuss priorities. That's what we do at home. That's what I did for almost a decade. And once you have this debate about priorities, I think most people are able to understand the landing zone eventually where the compromise is.
But that means perhaps that Emmanuel Macron's strategy did work here.
Well, it is. I think it is working. We are moving towards that. At least a part of the chamber. I go back to what I was saying at the very beginning. There are part of the chamber, almost a third of the chamber, that are really against more Europe. And if we want to advance and to have a strategic autonomy, it's a very ample aspect, and we are doing already. We are also putting in this dual use. I'm the rapporteur from my group on the new framework program on research and innovation, and we are including dual use for everything. So the security expenditure on politics, it does not go only directly on security and defense, but also in other policies. And we are moving towards that.
Because people are worried, our viewers are concerned that we will not be able to protect the social economy that we're so proud of here in Europe.
No, that's what Ukraine tells us, because let's assume that we decided to go all in and help Ukraine. Still, what we could muster would not be enough. We're still dependent on the United States if we want to keep Russia at bay. And it's dawning on more and more people that this is the way things are.
But it's not what people want, clearly, as you've seen from that poll.
Yeah, but we need more Europe. I mean, of course, there are a lot of disinformation going on, and there is a lot of engineering of chaos, as Giuliano D'Empoli is saying, behind those polls, too. So there is a lot of misinformation going on, and a lot of actors that really want to destroy the European Union. And this is also reflected in the polls, in a way or another. And in the populism is that as well. So we really need to have that in mind.
And what does that mean then on a practical level, having more Europe? Does it mean radical reforms here?
We thought in Europe that we could do without hard power, but it turns out that hard power is a necessity, and we have to supply the hard power ourselves, and that means that we have to change our priorities.
Are our leaders, though, bold enough? Do they have enough vision?
Yeah, when you put them under pressure, but they are risk averse because they want to be re-elected, but you have to put them under a certain amount of pressure.
But isn't that the problem, though? Always under pressure, under crisis, the EU can work, and if not, it's Just let's wait and see, kind of?
Well, we have managed in the past, to be honest. When we were in front of a crisis, we were able to go out with more Europe or a better Europe. I hope this time will be the same. However, there is a big difference. Is the polls, is the public opinion that is more anti-European in certain areas, in certain places, and some parties that are inside the chamber and also in the council that are really against the idea of the Europe we have been building.
It is time to move on to our fifth and final round. Are you ready? Now it is time for something a little bit different. I'm going to be asking our guest MEPs quick questions on set, and they only have the permission to answer with a yes or a no
I'm not
answer.
very good at that.
Is that doable?
Yes.
Yeah.
OK, well, on that positive point, we can start. Is the European Union the best place in the world to live? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you think the future of the European Union is bright?
Yes. Let's say yes. Let's be optimistic.
I think so too.
Are the EU institutions fit for purpose, Lina Galvez, yes or no?
No.
What about you, Mr. Dahl?
No, they need to tighten up.
Could the European Union defend itself alone if the United States, did not step in to help, Mr. Dahl?
No.
Lina?
No.
Can the European Union respond quickly enough to various global crises, yes or no? Lina Galvez?
No.
What about you, Mr. Dahl?
No.
Is the role of Kaja Kallas, that's the EU Foreign Affairs Chief, is it important, yes or no?
No.
Mr. Dahl, same question to you.
Yes, I think so.
What about Trump's attempts to take Greenland? Could this see the end of the NATO alliance, Mr. Dahl?
Yes.
What about you, Mr.
Yes.
Yeah? Should the European Union have its own army, Lina Galvez?
Yes.
Would you agree with that, yes or no? Should we have our own
No.
army? No? And are EU leaders, do you think, in control of their own destiny?
No.
Yes or no?
Yes.
Is it time to radically reform the EU, yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
And on that point of the need to radically reform, we can bring this conversation to an end. I'm sure you could continue discussing all these issues at length, but this does bring this show to an end. Thank you so much as well to our viewers for tuning in. If you would like to reach out to us and let us know how you feel about any of these topics, you can write to us on the ring at euronews.com. But for now, thank you so much for watching. Thank you also to Lina Galvez and to Henrik Dahl from Denmark for joining us and being our guests. Take care and see you soon here on Euronews.